Background of this study. The study is done to analyze the relationship between years against the number of deaths caused by heart disease in Malaysia. The years that involved in this study from 2010 to 2018. The data for this study is taken from the Department of Statistic Malaysia official portal. The study was organized by semester 4 students to specify the requirement for the syllabus for STA108, Basic Statistic and Probability. We had chosen to evaluate the relationship between years against the number of deaths caused by heart disease in Malaysia. In this study, years are classified as independent value and number of deaths are classified as dependent variable. Scientifically, an individual will tend to have health problems year by year as their age is increasing. However, in this study, we only focus on heart disease in Malaysia from 2010 to 2018 to observe the relationship patterns between those variables. The scale of measurement years will be interval and ratio for the number of deaths. Next, for 1.2 is the objective of the study is to investigate relationship between years and the number of deaths caused by heart disease, to indicate the degree of linear relationship between two variables, and to describe the years and number of deaths caused by heart disease. 1.3 Significance of study. It is very important for us to know our body health by doing a medical checkup regularly twice in a year, learning and understand our body condition because it will not be the same as we are growing older and also influenced by our unhealthy lifestyle. This study will benefit everyone to be more aware on their health. Sometimes we might seem very healthy even though having a healthy lifestyle. A heart attack disease in someone under age 40 was extremely uncommon, but now 1 in every 5 heart attack patients are under the age of 40 years old. So obviously, it is very common for those who are 40 and above. This can be influenced by many factors such as poor lifestyle routine, overweight, or because of natural condition, which means that the heart is not well developed and have flaws since birth. In general, this study will create awareness to change to a better lifestyle and to be more concerned about our body health.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am NURIN NAJWA binti Muhammad Anal from F4AS 120407. Today I am going to be presenting on methodology. There's 3 parts in methodology, which are data description, graphical technique, and numerical technique. First, I will start with the data description. We use data description to record all the informations about the data files and the contents so that we can use this data in this research to further understand the data contents and structure. We use a secondary data from the Department of Statistics Malaysia official portal. This assignment was done to analyze the relationship between year 2010 to 2018 and number of deaths due to ischemic heart disease in Malaysia. The variables from this data are year and number of deaths due to ischemic heart disease in Malaysia. The data is a quantitative continuous variable as it could be measured by numbers. The independent variable X from the data is year because this variable does not depend on any other variable set. Meanwhile, the dependent variable Y is the number of deaths due to ischemic heart disease in Malaysia. This variable depends on the independent variable. The number of deaths depends on the year. Next is the graphical technique. For graphical technique, we made a histogram for the dependent variable, which is the number of deaths due to ischemic heart disease in Malaysia. The histogram still displays the data using vertical bars of data to represent the frequency of the class. Class boundaries was used for x-axis and frequency for y-axis. A scatter plot diagram is constructed based on the death. Age is deposited as the x-axis and the number of deaths is deposited as the y-axis. Lastly is the numerical technique. Based on this case study, the value of mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation, skewness, range, minimum and maximum value, first quartile and third quartile were concluded. The relationship between year and number of deaths due to ischemic heart disease in Malaysia is also represented by correlation and regression analysis. Correlation analysis is used to measure the strength of two variables. The value of correlation coefficient for the data obtained is the study of the weight and the running speed is determined whether it has a strong or weak positive negative correlation. Regression is a simple linear relationship involving only two variables. Only one would be the dependent variable, which is y, while the other would be the independent variable x. The dependent variable is the variable is in regression that cannot be controlled or manipulated. Besides, it will help to determine the type of relationship between two variables. That is all from me. Thank you.
The graph from the figure 2.2a represents an X variable, which is the years of ischemic heart diseases in Malaysia. Based on the histogram, the mean and the standard deviation for the graph are the year 2014 and 2.739 respectively. The graph from the figure 2.2b represents a Y variable, which is the number of deaths that causes ischemic diseases in Malaysia. Based on the histogram, the highest number of deaths is 18,267. The mean and the standard deviation for this graph are 11, 573.89 and 2776.952 respectively. We have identified that graph the dependent variable. We will now look at the descriptive analysis for the number of deaths due to heart disease in Malaysia. This will include metric of central tendency, dispersion, location and skewness for each variable. The first variable that is dependent on its own value is the total number of fatalities. These variables means value denoted by the symbol X is 11,000. This indicates that there are, on a yearly basis, an average of 11,000 deaths. From the median, we can interpret that 50% of the number of the deaths are less than 10,000, while the other 50% are more than 10,000 as the mode X. We can interpret that is 9,371. The value of this variable standard deviation, denoted by the letter S, is 2,000, whereas the variance S2 is 7 is the number above. Given this value, it is reasonable to infer that the degree to which the data deviate from the mean is significant, and that its degree of deviation will be significantly more than the mean because the variance value is huge. The overall skewness of the variable is 2.137. This means the distribution of the variable is skewed to the right since the value of the skewness is a positive value. The range of the variable is 8,000 and 8,876. This means the difference between the largest and the smallest data set is 8,876. The minimum or the smallest data set is 9,371, while the maximum or the largest data set is 18,297. Refer to 3.2.1 of the data skewness of the data.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ADRIANA BINTI HARMAN, and I will be explaining the part on correlation and regression analysis. So in this section, a scatter plot will be illustrated, the relationship between the independent variable and also the dependent variable. Based on the table values in the preceding table, we generated that the regression line equation is y equals to 1128.85 plus 31.582x. So this implies that the average number of deaths will increase by 31 people. So using the collected data, a scatter plot was produced. So This is table 3.3, which is the correlation and regression values. Correlation value represents R, which is 2.52 times 10 to the power of -5, and also the coefficient of determination, which is R in the power of 2, is just 6.35 times 10 in the power of -10, and also the regression equation, we use the formula y equals to ax plus b. So next we produced a scatter plot. So this diagram shows that a positive association, which is an increasing scatter plot. So that's for a positive correlation, the existence of a positive relationship between the variable number of deaths and the year was demonstrated. And then next is the correlation. So for this part, correlation that represents R actually measures the linear relationship between two quantitative variables. The value of R is 0.811, a very strong positive relationship between the two variables. So the coefficient R power of 2, which is to determine the ratio of the explained variation to the total variation. If the coefficient 0.811, therefore this implies that 81.1% of the total variation of the number of deaths caused by heart disease, and the other 18.9% is due to other factors. And the next one is simple linear regression. So the equation for this linear regression is y equals to 111 to 8.85 plus 31.582x. So value B indicates that when it is increasing year by year, and value A in the graph indicates the number of deaths will increase by 31 people. And so that's all from me today. Thank you very much.
In conclusion, that the number of deaths caused by heart disease increasing every year. In this data, we can see that the highest number of cases was recorded on 2018, which 15.6% of the population suffer from heart disease. For 2011 until 2014, the number of deaths are in average 10,000 cases. Other than that, we can conclude that the scatter diagram obtained is a positive correlation between years and the number of deaths caused by heart disease. As the pattern of diagram increase linearly, it means that if the years increase, the number of deaths will also increase as well. Thus, the objective of the study achieved.